still doing it in 2013?
Because this board was fixed, and it asks so many different, I don't know what yours shows.
Now, Mike wanted to know how much homeowners insurance I paid and everything, and a lot of the things I would have had to spend just hours to get.
That's very invasive.
Very, very invasive.
No,
And that
yeah,
would come
you're doing
down-
the same thing.
As far as a pushback, when you say what we can do, it's happening right now. If you remember when 2008 rolled around, the imposter in chief of staff, Rahm Emanuel, came out with a statement, "We'll never let a good crisis go to waste." Well, when the situation, this horrible thing happened in Connecticut here about a month or so ago, and okay, now we're going to take all your guns. Guess what? Mr. Obama has been the greatest salesman for the United States firearms industry of any political hack out there. People do not go out and spend $1,800 to $2,000 for a semi-automatic copy of M4 carbine so they can turn it into the government. Any of you tried to buy ammo lately? It's almost non-existent. They know that they've kicked over a hornet's nest. All right? It's like they can pick off an individual with a mining plan, but they're not, they know that, oh God, what have we done now? They're not going to give up their guns. Because one of the things, here again, if you look through history, any type of totalitarian regime, whether it be the communists in 1917, Adolf Hitler in 1933, what's the first thing they did when they came to power? Give us your firearms. So they know they've got a pushback. Another thing to keep in mind, to take heart, and I know this is kind of not a good thing, but no government out there can control the laws of economics. All right? We are right on the edge. T-bill interest is climbing, and you know what that means? No one's buying our paper. The Arabs, the Japanese, the Chinamen are not buying our 30-year T-bills. Guess what? We're not going to be able to fund this three-ring circus. Okay? And when that happens, a lot of it will deflate. And you won't have bureaucrats with Smokey the Bear hats telling you can't walk into that forest and pick mushrooms, because they won't be working. They won't get paid. They'll go buy them. Now, one of the things, given that situation, I would advise everybody here, if you haven't started, start prepping. Get over to, coin dealers, start buying silver. You can afford it. Stockpile food, stockpile ammunition and firearms if you can find them, and get ready. Because once things start crumbling, the 49% who vote for a living, when their SNAP card doesn't work, when their EBT card doesn't work, and they can't pay for, Mickey Big Mouth at the liquor store and junk food for their kids on AFDC, guess what's going to happen? They're going to go in and take it. Right? Up here, we won't see it as bad as it will be in the major metropolitan areas. But it's going to happen. They can't control the laws of economics. There's going to be a major reset, a major readjustment. If you go on any of the recognized economic blogs out there, like Investment Watch, Zero Hedge, John Galt, Shenandoah, are a few of them. These people with advanced degrees that track this stuff say, this is not sustainable, we are going to collapse. So keep that in mind. Once that collapse starts, the Leviathan, the federal government, is going to be way too busy, trying to keep order in metropolitan LA to worry about us folks up here in Curry and Delaware County. Yes, sir.
Nobody loans money without collateral. I wonder how much of the United States is being used as collateral for all these loans. Any ideas?
I don't know. That's a very good question.
We had
Help me research it.
a gentleman said it was very suspicious. He said it was very suspicious that when the Hillary's last visit, well, it wasn't her last visit, but one of her visits to China.
Within the last year.
She said it was very suspicious because they were not buying our debt. They're not buying our stuff up. But after her visit, suddenly, we make a huge land grab in the middle of Utah, where all the uranium is, and we seal that off and shut down all operations in that area.
That's my point.
And then all of a sudden, well, shoot, who's back buying? Well, the Chinese. They said they could find no trail. In fact, one of the investigators for the San Francisco paper was trying to find the trail. Unfortunately, he died in the process of his examination and trying to track this suspicion he had now that perhaps the equity, that the guarantee that the Chinese wanted from the United States was not necessarily, in our, that if we were going to back their purchase, that we may be backing it up with some of our resources as opposed to any dollars and cents, so to speak. Anything else? Yep.
I received a letter from Rand Paul day before yesterday.
Yeah.
You people don't know, he's a Republican senator. He was telling me about Obama's agenda, the United Nations agenda to take our guns away from us. Not some, all of them. And he said the biggest driving force right now is the Chinese government. They want all guns out of all Americans' hands. And we all know why.
Yes.
Also, one new thing, I don't know if you guys have discussed it before, is when you take your children to the pediatrician, one of the things they ask you is, do you have guns in your home?
Right. Yeah, that was one of my biggest concerns when you saw those executive orders, floating around from the president when he signed them. One of my biggest concerns was because, of course, buried within the Obama health care initiative, there was a huge increase in the restrictions and regulations as to the components for self-loaders, people that load their own ammunition. All the components were upgraded as far as health risk, and therefore you have to jump through a lot more hoops now if you are a self-loader to get the components that you need to get, whether it's the black powder, or the primer, or the lead, or any of that stuff. It suddenly became an issue for the health and safety of our communities, when it hadn't been a problem before.
But they didn't offer any safety information, they say they're just trying to assess
Right.
what the risk is.
Well, then buried inside the Obamacare was also a requirement. It required doctors to do this, but the NRA managed to get that done from a requirement to recommendation. So it's no longer required, but it is still recommended that doctors do this. But buried in those executive orders, there was a large chunk of money going to CDC to study the effects that firearms have on the nation's overall health. Now, if you can figure out what the Center for Disease Control has to do with firearms, it's a nexus that I don't necessarily catch. But because of the breadth that we know where Obamacare is going, that it will eventually influence and affect every human being, that when they take over the health care, if they can connect it to a quote-unquote health issue, then they have control. And again, it's just a matter of allowing and getting us to progressively give away more and more of our own liberties and rights.
Maybe that's what lead poisoning are afraid of.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I think.
Now's the time.
I don't think he's here this time, but he said he went to the VA hospital down in Eureka, they asked him the same thing.
Right.
He had guns and, are you still impressed? These leading questions that they're trying to type into it.
Right.
The other thing I wanted to show everybody is I'm reading a book called Behind the Green Mask. It is about UN Agenda 21. So if you want more information, and she's done a great job of documenting everything. She's out of the Bay Area. She actually was.
Well, she is. She's a Democrat.
She's a, yeah.
She's a great fighter against Gen 21.
Rosa Corey.
Yeah, Rosa Corey. She's a lesbian Democrat and a hardcore lefty, but she is absolutely deaf on Agenda 21 because of what it does.
Yes.
Oh, she's an excellent speaker. Yeah, great speaker.
Can we get
Probably
it?
get her up here one day, but anyway, so, but this is actually a very good comprehensive,
All right.
Go back to that cutting question, so if your health provider asks you that question, you're not mandated or.
No, it's not their business.
You don't have to answer.
No, they're damn business.
That's right.
So just so you guys know that, you don't have to answer that question.
Not unless you shot yourself.
Well, yeah.
In case it could be relevant. Yeah, it's not myself.
Give them a missile launcher clock.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Then I want to please thank our guests for